Indians to use the platform. Who was also used by dignitaries like the Dalai Lama, presidents of Brazil and Nigeria, ace footballer Ronaldinho, top Indian celebrities like Virat Kohli and Karan Johar, union ministers like Piyush Goyal, Ashwini Vaishnav, and the CM of Uttar Pradesh, Yogi Adityanath. There were more than 9,000 other eminent personalities around the world who were the users of Google. Co-founded by Apramey Radhakrishna and Mayank Bidawatka, Ku was a microblogging platform from India, created as a competitor to X, formerly Twitter. It reflected India's growing digital ecosystem and the push for digital sovereignty. It wanted to create a platform for non-English users to be able to express themselves in their native language. It raised funding from various investors, including Tiger Global Management and Bloom Ventures. At one point, the company was valued at over $275 million. Ku gained prominence during 2021 amid discussions on data privacy and content regulation involving global social media platforms. It was endorsed by several Indian government officials, public figures, and celebrities as a homegrown alternative aligned with the country's self-reliance initiative, Atmanirbhar Bharat. PM Narendra Modi spoke about Ku in his Mann Ki Baat speech and encouraged Indians to use the platform. Ku was also used by dignitaries like Dalai Lama, presidents of Brazil and Nigeria, ace footballer Ronaldinho, top Indian celebrities like Virat Kohli and Karan Johar, union ministers like Piyush Goyal, Ashwini Vaishnav, and the CM of Uttar Pradesh Yogi Adityanath. There were more than 9,000 other eminent personalities around the world who were the users of Ku. But Ku ran into rough weather and the founders decided to shut down Ku in July 2024, citing financial constraints due to a challenging funding winter.
Hello friends. From today, Ministry of Education Innovation Cell and AICTE is starting a very unique initiative called Celebrating Failures. Usually you would have seen a lot of podcasts, a lot of interactions, interviews, where people are more successful and they talk about their success stories. They may mention failures in bits and pieces, but the focus is not on that. What we believe that failures can teach us more than what success can teach us. And so we have started this unique initiative called as Celebrating Failures. In this series of podcasts, we will be actually talking to startups owners who have failed, who have taken that company to a certain level, and due to some constraints, some mistakes, they were actually failed and that startup has closed down and they have moved to some other venture or job or something of that sort. The primary objective is to enlighten our students which are going to take up this startup journey that what not to do. We have to learn from their failures so that the startup success or the success of actually getting a startup or making the startup successful is high, and that's what we are going to discuss here. Today we have with us founder of Ku, which was once considered as competitor to Twitter, Mayank, and we will be discussing with him his journey, what prompted him to start Ku, what were his struggles during the Ku, and at what point he decided that he should close the entire initiative. And then based on that and based on this entire experience, now what he is doing and how that experience is helping him in his new venture. So that's where we are. So Mayank, thanks for coming. You have come all the way from Bangalore to Delhi for us. So just tell us your journey on how you conceptualized Q, what prompted you to get into that, and then what made you feel that no, Baba, I cannot take it forward.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is a fairly this is a journey that goes back to about 2019, where Apramaya and I were discussing. We are anyways doing something in the vernacular space, with a broader thesis that about 90% of the country speaks multiple languages and dialects. So we need to have products that cater to these users, because most of the global products that are being used by Indians, or even for the matter the global audience, which is 80% non-English, they have been created by either America or China with a very English first philosophy. So we wanted to create products that are very relevant to the Indian audience. There was data out there that majority of the questions being asked on Google are in voice, especially by Vernacular India, and what they get in return are links, right? Why not give them voice answers? Because they're asking in voice, they should get voice answers. So it's a localization, it's an Indianization of the question and answer format, and that's what we were building initially through a product called Vocal. And we were thinking of other product ideas that we could Indianize, either for the vernacular Indian or for the global vernacular native language speakers, right? And then we realized that microblogging is a very interesting product. It has some of the most important people having discussions with the masses. Having said that, Twitter was under-penetrated in a country like ours. So you will see that Twitter had maybe 2 to 3% of the country was using Twitter. And you realize that it's because it's not gone very deep in languages. We did some research back then where we started to get a sense of how many tweets per day are there in Indian languages. So that's going back to how do you figure if there's a market here, right? So we realized that there are about 500 million tweets a day globally per day, but just 250 Kannada tweets a day, about 300-400 Tamil tweets a day, about 25,000 Hindi tweets a day, right? Now, if we look at Karnataka, it's a state of 7-8 crore folks. 250 tweets a day is very low.
Whether the problem was with the platform that it was not allowing vernacular tweets, or it was just the penetration and the awareness part of it. Because what I think, if I understand correctly, you were trying to solve a problem.
Yeah.
Because identifying the problem is the key, right?
Yes.
For any startup. So you were trying to actually solve which problem here?
Yeah, so if you look at, Twitter per se, let's say I'm a Kannada speaking guy and I log into Twitter. There are 2-3 problems, right? One is that if I'm a consumer of content, I want to find the right people I should be following in my native tongue. That's the first requirement. If you're a creator, I want to be able to create using the tools that are relevant for my language, which means the keyboard should be in Kannada. I should be able to record a message in Kannada. And 2, I need discovery, right? You speak Kannada, I create in Kannada, you and I should be able to connect, you should be able to discover me. Only if I get followers will I continue creating. That's basically the flow that Ku cracked. So we made it easy for, and we actually started in Kannada. We made it easy to type in Kannada, to speak in Kannada, to put out audio notes and things like that. The ex-finance minister of Karnataka had started contributing on the platform, and he mainly used voice notes. the other people who were contributing could type in English and it would transliterate into Kannada. So we took that flow and made it very easy for people to start creating in their native language. And we created something called the people feed, which means that everyone who was creating, we gave them very good discovery. So if you speak Punjabi, I will show you Punjabi creators. If you speak Kannada, I'll show you people who are creating in Kannada. If you go to Twitter, no matter what language you speak, you will be shown Elon Musk and Donald Trump and the 5-10 top most followed guys. They're irrelevant to my world. My world is my language and maybe some bit of national personalities. But those are the folks that we want to follow. That is one. Two, we patented this flow, but imagine a politician or someone.
Then what went wrong?
A simple answer to your question, what went wrong, is that 2022 around the world, growth funding had dried up.
Yes.
That affected a lot of startups that were in that middle phase where you hadn't monetized enough to break even, right? You were just about starting to monetize, and Koo is a very unique product and category because it's a social media platform and you usually start monetizing after a couple of million daily active users, and that's basically what we had hit in around 2022 when actually the growth funding had dried up. So you could say that we were a little late to the party, but it wasn't about what we did. It was about what happened in the market. There's this general Superman thinking that we can control everything, but everything is not in your control. A lot of...
So you had 2 million users already, active daily users on Koo.
22 mid, we had grown from about 250,000 users a day to about 2 million users a day, 2.5 million users a day. So we had grown 10x within 2 months, right? So we were actually ready for explosive growth.
And your platform could handle that.
I don't think we were more than 4 to 6 months away from beating the numbers Twitter had in India, right? Which was about 4-5 million DAO. We had already hit 2.5-3 million DAO. So we were very close to their numbers. We had a full plan of taking our formula
and
global.
You actually bootstrapped this entire
No, this was
company.
funded. This has been this is a venture
what
capital.
was that journey? Means from conceptualization of idea to the first round of funding. How you went about it and what was the ticket size of that funding?
We had some funds left from our previous product called Vocal, which was funded to the tune of $4 to $5 million. So we would have probably used up about $1 million or so to run Koo specifically for about a year. And there was a lot of action in the year. So we launched, I think, a week before COVID hit. Within a few months, there was an Atmanirbhar app challenge. So we had started this in Kannada. We expanded to Hindi. There was an Atmanirbhar app challenge. We participated in that. We were one of the top 3 apps in that category. Prime Minister Modi spoke about it in Man Ki Baat. So that journey happened within 6 months. And in the next 6 months, we had a lot of famous folks from India joining the app.
Even I was there.
And including you. So it's around that period that we were able to raise another $4.5 million as the Series A.
Series A
for this. It was also around the time where there were, there was the government of India having differences with Twitter and how they treated the farmer protests. That's around the time where there was a lot of interest in Koo, and I also feel that we were wrongly positioned in the minds of a lot of Indians, where they said that this is a Twitter alternative. Now, if you look at how we started, we had started to cater to folks for whom Twitter was a bit of an alien, saying, I want to talk in Hindi, I want to talk in Punjabi, in Kannada, but the media projected it as, hey, this is a perfect Twitter alternative. We were trying to cater to the India that's not on Twitter.
So the messaging, or the wrong messaging.
The wrong messaging
happened from your side, or it was a media which went ahead and you couldn't correct it?
It was a timing thing. It was a timing thing in the sense that the government was having disputes with Twitter. It felt a lot more confident in going ahead and standing its ground. Because it felt that we have another microblog. I don't really need your product. I don't need your tech. I have my own homegrown thing. If you don't want to go by what we think is important for national security, I will go with this. So in the minds of everyone, in the minds of the media, they're not double clicking and saying, hey, that was built for the Hindi audience or the Kannada audience. So the English user starts saying, why should I use Ku when I already have Twitter? Are you the same? If you're the same, why have you started this? Well, why we started has been spoken about multiple times by Apramay and me in multiple media interviews. But I think that was such a loud noise and voice at that time that it just it silenced everything else. And for everyone, it became, okay, Ku is equal to Twitter. But that wasn't the case. That's not why we started.
Means what do you want to say, that messaging and positioning
is
of
very
your product
important.
is very, very critical?
It's very important. It's important for folks to understand the narrative, why you started, how is this unique, who is it for? It's not for the English speaking Indian. And suddenly they felt that, okay, you've copied this and there is localization of everything in every country in the world, right? You need to localize. Everyone's not always innovating. The idea is to cater to an audience that's not been catered to. You need to tailor your solution based on the user that you're catering to.
So it has to be user-centric.
It has to be user-centric. Entrepreneurship is about the person that you're catering to. Right? Maggie made in a particular way in Gujarat with some sugar needs to be different from Rajasthan where they want some more spice.
Or from
right? And so Maggie made differently for different audiences is a need, is a market, right? And if you're catering to it, you're not copycat or any of that. It's important to understand what those users want and then cater to
what
it.
you have said is very, very important, because what I have also realized, I go to a lot of these innovation competitions, I see a lot of products, and I used to judge them.
Right.
And what I felt at that time was that many youngsters are more technology centric.
Right.
As we were talking before, कि मेरे को ब्लॉकचेन आता है तो मैं सब जगह वो ब्लॉकचेन चिपकाऊंगा, है ना? मैं फिनटेक में तो चलाता ही हूँ, मैं फूड प्रोसेसिंग में भी चलाऊंगा, मैं एग्रीकल्चर में भी ब्लॉकचेन. And many times I have thought that solutions were offered to problems which never existed. And that is one of the reasons why many of these startups actually failed. But here, when you are talking about you felt that need was. Yes. And you could actually onboard around 2.5 million, 3 million people?
Yeah, almost actually about 5 crore to 6 crore users over our journey.
When you were onboarding these people, whether you were actually onboarding people which were your actual real clients, or they were again English speaking people who were on Twitter and just wanted to try an Indian app?
So we hardly had any English users. You know, we would have had very small numbers, because I myself would not use Ku for microblogging in English, right? It wasn't built for me. It wasn't built for folks like you and me. It was built for folks who prefer a native language, right? So most of our daily active users were in native languages. In each of the native languages that we were present in, we were actually bigger than Twitter. So within a few days of launching that native language, we would beat whatever Twitter numbers were there, right? Which a lot of folks did not know, that we are one of the largest microblogs in native languages.
But then why you had a problem raising the fund?
See, the problem, Dr. Jere, is that you have, it's called crossing the chasm, right? When you're, there are various phases in a startup. There's a pre-product, there's a product phase, there's a revenue phase, there's a pre-revenue phase. Generally, social media is not monetized till you hit a certain scale, because the advertisers also want a certain scale. And the best way to monetize a microblog or a social media platform is advertising. They want a minimum number of users on your platform.
According to you, what could be that minimum number? For example, because I see a lot of these youngsters coming up with some kind of app, some wants to have a dating app or, similar kind of a connecting app or, these kind of apps. And everyone feels that it's $1 billion idea. So technology is always there. You can always build a product.
Yes.
What I've realized is onboarding of the users, getting right users and, So what is that size?
So for social media, anywhere between a 2.5 to 5 million number is a decent size to start some sort of monetization efforts. As far as schools concerned, we had just about hit that number and we started monetization experiments, and the market went really sour. And this is not just in India, but globally, growth funds had dried up. So investors who were willing, and there are some lessons here, investors who were willing to write a $50 to $100 million check to us a few months back saying, just hit these numbers and we're happy to fund this initiative. Everyone turned back. Some of our largest investors, they were going through their own series of issues back in the US. There was a lot of inflation around the world, and that hurt startups very heavily at the growth stage, and could also be felt in early stage startups. So you'll see startup activity really took a big dip in the 2022 to 23 period, and that's pretty much the time when we were scaling, we were trying monetization experiments in a category where other players have made maybe 25 to 30 paise per daily active user from ads. We made 1 rupee. So we've demonstrated excellence in anything that we were doing in the company, but it's very difficult to fight a market mood.
How big was your team?
At peak, we were about 300 people at Go.
Okay.
Because we had multiple languages, we had a platform team, we had a fairly large tech team and things like that.
And how much cash you were burning?
5 to 7 crore range.
Monthly.
So that is monthly, because there's a tech bill, there's a salary bill.
Yeah.
The good thing is that when you hit this 2.5 to 5 million DAO, when you're making 1 rupee per daily active user, that's a very healthy number.
Right.
That helps you break even very fast. We were on that journey, right? What we needed was one more round of funding. So I told you that there were certain learnings.
Yes.
I think one learning from this experience is that you never know what will happen in the next few months. You and I could not have predicted that there will be a Pahalgam attack and then India will attack Pakistan, and we thought that war might go on and it immediately stopped. So we don't know, we can't predict these externalities, but a lot of these, whether it's large regional externalities or large global externalities, they have an effect on us. They have an effect on you, from consumer behavior to consumer spending, to investor behavior, to investor investing. The big lesson is, if money is available and you have a plan for it, raise it.
Okay.
Don't wait for the
Optimal.
Don't wait for the optimal time saying, when I hit 2.5 million DAO is when I will come and talk to you about XYZ. If it's available, take it. It might be a little dilutive to you as founders or other folks on the board, other folks on the cap table, but it de-risks you from any kind of externalities that can hit your startup later.
There is a lot of fear many times that if you go a bit early or prematurely to an investor, then the investor might end up arm twisting you and maybe ask for more equity and so on and so on. So you went through that kind of problem, and how many conversations you had before actually it was a successful conversation when an investor said, okay, now I will write a check, and how many people said no to you?
We had investors who had actually invested in Twitter. We had angel investors like Naval Ravikant. He's a very big name in Silicon Valley. Balaji, who used to be the CTO at Coinbase. We had folks like that who had invested in Twitter, and their belief was that the next version of microblogging for the world is native microblogging. So this is the right trend. What you guys are doing is correct. So we almost always had internal flow and interest for investing in our company. So even our Series B was, interest coming to us. It wasn't necessarily us going out to the investor community and saying, we're looking for these kind of funds. So even the $50 to $100 million checks was interest from the investor community saying we'd like to fund something like this, because whatever it is that you're doing, there's a very nice ripple effect. You're able to acquire users very fast. You found a nice formula for growth and monetization, and each of these feeding into each other. In general, to answer your question, it might take a lot of meetings. I think you have to go through the cycle of proving that there's a market, that there's a segment, they're willing to pay for what you've created, showing proof points and things like that. If you're not a serial entrepreneur, if you've not done this before, you need to prove that you're capable of putting together a team. You're capable of taking this idea, marketing it, convincing users, creating the tech for it. Design is very important, right? And if you're catering to an international audience, you have to understand that their context is to use very slick apps. So unlike maybe 15, 20 years back where you could put out something quick and dirty, you can't do that today. Because the user's expectations are, the baseline has changed. The baseline has gone to a higher level. So you need to be a little contemporary in your thinking and say, what does this person expect today? I need to create that. Your MVP is not the MVP according to you. The MVP needs to be an MVP according to the user who's going to use it. If he feels that this is not an MVP, you've embarrassed yourself, he might not come back, you might not get the proof points that you want and things like that. So I think, it has to be related to what the user expects and things like that. So in general, yes, Ku had a fairly good run as far as, inbound interest from investors was concerned. Raising funds is an exercise in de-risking.
Yeah.
There are 20 risks, at an idea stage. When you've created a product, there are 15 risks. When you've started monetizing, there are probably 5. How do you keep de-risking yourselves? How do you provide proof points that, you're capable, the product is capable, you've built an organization, because that entire journey, right?
That thought process is very important.
Yeah, you'll see that the journey of entrepreneurship starts with an idea, then I'll build a feature, then I'll build the product, then I'll build a business, which is about revenue, and then I'm going to build an organization. So it is the journey from an idea, from feature to product to business to an organization. And you evolve as the CEO or the founder of that company, because when you have an idea, it's 3 friends sitting in a room saying, okay, how about this, right? Let's go talk to 5 people. Oh, they all like the idea. Okay, how about we start coding into it? Then you make a product, then you figure out how do you make money out of it, and then you make a business out of it, and then you're talking about expanding yourself, making it an organization and things like that. So there's a lot of changes that the entrepreneur goes through in such a stage, and across these stages. So It's also about evolving yourself to make sense of all the changes that are happening. Entrepreneurship is actually a very selfish journey. Okay, you're doing something because you want to do it, and we'll morph this discussion into social pressures. But if you think about your parents, they don't want you to do it. They want you to go work in the government, take up a private job. There's a stable salary. ये नहीं किया तो शादी नहीं होगी. All those kinds of things. So they're the first guys who talk you out of entrepreneurship, saying, please don't do this. It's unsafe.
Only parents, nahi, even boyfriend, girlfriends.
Everyone, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, your partners might be a part of that gang which says, your closest friends will be a part of the gang saying, are you sure you want to do this? It's such a stupid idea. And, I always had 20 guys in that gang saying, are you sure you want to do this?
But then how you handle that?
You just have to ignore all of that. I think a lot of it will come from your own conviction in the idea. It's your personality saying, I don't care, this is what I want to do. For me personally, I always looked at education as my insurance. If I'm educated, I'm insured. And I know that I can always fall back on something and, go back to stable living and things like that. As a personality or as a kid, I always hated regret. And I did not want to regret losing out on the internet era around which where we, were a bunch of young guys trying to create a startup like Redbus or the second startup that I did called the Media Ant, which is a bootstrap.
I was actually going to come to that question. You had a very successful startup, Redbus. Then you had another startup also. And then you actually jumped onto Coup.
Yeah.
So during this entire journey, when an idea came to you, because this is many times youngsters actually jump,
right.
कि बाबा मेरे पास आज आइडिया आ गया, अभी कल से तो मैं बिलियनर बन गया, अभी कोई टेंशन नहीं है अभी. So what was your thought process? What was your journey in ensuring that the idea is valid, the idea is sustainable, the idea is monetizable? So what you did for that?
You just have to get into the habit of thinking of ideas, right? And you think of ideas when you start spotting problems, right? I can spot a couple of problems in the studio and I'll think of the idea and then I'll say, okay, how big is this market size? Are there other people in it? So you have to start doing that mental exercise. You need to give it some time to let it brew in your head, right? You need to be patient with it. There's a difference between crush and love, right? You need to let that transformation happen. You got an idea at 4 p.m., 7 p.m, you've started looking for a co-founder saying, boss, yahi idea hai, hum sab crorepati. Avoid the crush behavior and, let's move into, this is my final love. Don't do that. You need to get into okay, let me evaluate this idea. Let me think about it. Let me tell 5 guys. Let 3 of them say this is good. 2 of them will say this is bad. See if you can debate it out. Talk to users. Nothing beats talking to final users. Sleep over the idea. See if it's still exciting to you. When you sleep over it and let the thought brew is when you realize saying, yeah, I was excited about it 2 days back, but I think maza nahi aayega ye karne mein or whatever, right? Firstly, keep looking for problem statements. Every time you get a problem statement, please make a note of it because you'll forget about it. So if you have a list of 10 ideas and you're warm about 3 or 4, let them brew in the head and see if you can come out with one of these that might be a commercially viable startup.
If you look at the journey of Coup, you went up to a valuation of about 275 million or so. Okay, it's a fairly good valuation. Okay, and then one day you announce that you're now going to shut down.
Right.
Okay. So before actually taking that decision, how many months or a year you were mulling on that decision, and whether you were in dual minds ke baab main ye barabar decision le raha hu or I should wait for some time? Because what I have seen that large number of students, youngsters, because they won some innovation competition. I mean, there are just zillions of innovation competitions happening around nowadays. I feel actually they are doing huge disservice many times now. Because the youngster who has won that competition, he thinks now, again, as I said, he has $1 billion idea. And he actually wastes a lot of his time in pursuing that idea. And nobody is trying to tell him that, boss, it's not going to succeed, because nobody wants to be that bad guy. You know? So, and they continue to be associated, get emotionally entrenched into it. But when it comes to Q, you had actually seen some success. You had that valuation. So that emotional connect will be much more higher. So when you started taking the decision, or when you started thinking about, no, I will shut down, how emotionally challenging it was, and how you dissociated, you means how you could separate that?
You know, this is actually a very difficult question for a lot of people to understand, and even for us who've run not just startups, but these are brands. And the difference between a startup and a brand is, a startup could be an idea, but a brand becomes a living thing in the hearts of users. We had a Brazilian user who posted on Twitter or LinkedIn, I think, and